Let me tell you a story.
Ain't this what they've been waiting for? You ready?
Please drive to highlighted route.
This past week, The Dark Knight turned 10 years old. I still remember going to the IMAX in King of Prussia, sitting down, watching this thing, and it just blew my mind. So the 11-year-old me went home and found out it was made by a guy named Christopher Nolan. This is the first time I actually knew what a movie director did, and Chris Nolan was the first real director I became familiar with. Like, I knew who Steven Spielberg was, but I didn't actually know what Steven Spielberg did. From Nolan, I found out about other famous filmmakers working today, like PTA and Quentin Tarantino. After I caught up with them and most of the other modern filmmakers, I took a look back in film history, studying the masters like Kubrick and Hitchcock, watching those essential old movies like Citizen Kane, or even older than that, Nosferatu. But 2 years later, Christopher Nolan's next movie came out, which was Inception. And this was the first time in my life where I went to go see a new movie, not because of the action or the actors involved with it, but because I was a true fan of the director's previous work. And when I walked out, my life was legitimately changed forever. I went home, googled everything I could on how Inception was actually made, and from that point on, I realized I didn't really want to study movies anymore, but rather actually create them. Of course, I still love watching movies I haven't seen and seeing what others have to say, but I didn't and still don't love it as much as creating my own stuff. Which brings us to today, 10 years later, when that interest within me had started. I started creating content for YouTube roughly 7 years ago, but I didn't actually start seriously creating short films until about 4 years ago, and even those were absolute garbage.
You died, Joe.
No, you're lying, man.
But I learned from them, and if I never made them, there would be no progress at all. There'd be no making it to that next level that I wanted to get to. So I applied with my shit movie to a couple film schools, got denied by most of them because, again, who would accept this?
That's not possible.
But I got into what seemed like a decent program that I guess saw a little bit of potential in me. Once that started, I had completely given up on a YouTube channel that had finally started taking off, at least in my standards. But I gave up on it because I'm a lazy dumbass that put other priorities over my, at the time, audience, which is now significantly diminished like every other YouTube channel that gets put off for a couple of years. I was making videos and films at a higher rate than I ever have in my entire life, but I wasn't satisfied with the work I was making at all, and it's been that way for the past 3 years. And the reason I drove an hour and 15 minutes to the shore to catch a sunrise has nothing to do with me trying to get a nice background or me being pretentious and trying to make things look cool. To represent that, I've literally punted every leisure activity I possibly could so far this summer. I've worked harder than I ever have in my entire life in these past couple of months, and I've just constantly been grinding. I haven't had time to come to the beach and chill, even though I would absolutely love to. And that's the thing, I've been working harder, but not smarter. And that's the routine I'm going to break. I want to bring my YouTube content on both channels back in full swing and make videos about stories that I want to share. And when I said this is gonna be the last episode I do like in this style, I think, just because, I don't know, it's too simple for me and I really have to like spice it up, and I'm just thinking of other things I could do with this channel. I meant that because making videos of me just talking to a camera about filmmaking advice is kind of boring to watch and boring to make. And I'd rather implement any advice I have into stories that I want to tell. I'm still making my first feature film, working 2 jobs, trying to create content for my other channel, trying to maintain my podcast, trying to get back into the best shape of my life, and now trying to pull off weekly videos like this, all while being wrapped around trying to maintain a somewhat decent social life. Trust me, it's as hard as it sounds, but I'm not complaining. I thought about my great-grandfather who escaped the Armenian genocide on a boat, and I don't know every detail of that story. You know, it was kind of just a story told from generation to generation, and now I just ended up in Strathmere, New Jersey. I know the situation's weird and you wouldn't be recording everything going on at that moment, but imagine if I could watch my great-grandfather's story, like right now, just on a video. That'd be pretty dope. And the thing that drives me the most is legacy. Like, that's the only thing that's ever mattered to me. I just want to do what I want to do and impact someone's life doing it. And I'm on the journey of doing that through movies that I want to make. but I just haven't reached the level that I want to yet at all. I'm not even close. I've barely even begun the prologue. And this is the doc reboot, episode 1. Even though the first series had like 7 episodes, we're rebooting it, we're starting it fresh, and we're defining it with a style. I want to start editing stuff. I love editing. That's the difference, and that's why I think this channel is something I'm really going to invest my time in. And I guess that's really it. This is the first episode in the doc, the reboot, if that's the official name. And yeah, can't wait for you guys to see my movie next week, so I'll catch you later.
Happy New Year, baby. I bet this year you miss me. Left